Hi, Thom. A common topic of conversation today centers around purpose and fulfillment. What do you see as our greatest misconceptions about purpose and fulfillment?
Fulfillment is the basis of the minute-by-minute discovery of purpose, because one of the enemies of living a life that is super relevant, living a life that is relevant to the evolutionary need of the time. And this is the criterion. We must live a life that is relevant to the current need of the time. But the need of the time is changing, shifting, moving. How can I maximize my relevance? If I decide, oh, I'll do that by being a carpenter, then you are doing your carpentry and all of that, and then somebody comes and says, well, I don't really need any carpentry. I'd like to have a cabinet made. I'd be happy to employ you to be my cabinet maker. And if you're able to be adaptable and say, well, I'll be a cabinet maker for you, and then you make a cabinet. And while you're making the cabinet, they come and sit and talk to you and say, do you have any ideas about how I can stop smoking? And you say, sure, I'll share a few thoughts with you about how to stop smoking. And following your advice, they stop smoking. And then they want to hire you as their health and adaptation energy advisor. And if through all of this you go, no cabinets, I'm a carpenter. No advice, I'm a cabinet maker. I taught you how not to smoke. I can't be your advisor in health and wellness. You're just missing opportunities to become ever more relevant. So the point I'm making through this facile story is that rigid attachment is the enemy. Rigid attachment to, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm only this thing, I'm not any of these other things. I'll use my own life as an example. I was trained by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi to be someone who could teach Vedic meditation. And I'm very good at it, still to this day after 55 years or so. But I'm also employed by a large number of companies as a consultant on business strategy. I have no qualifications in business strategy whatsoever, except that big companies think I do. And when I advise them in business strategy, everything works. And they say, that's amazing. And then their friend companies hear about that, and they compete and want me to come and advise them on business strategy. Now, of course, I'm always open to someone saying to me, how did you get to be like this? We thought that we had a completely intractable problem. And in 2 minutes, Thom, you just said, try this, try that, and we did it, and the whole thing changed and shifted. Where'd you learn that? You didn't learn that from your teacher Maharishi in India, did you? No, I didn't. I learned from my teacher how to be a consciousness man. If I was a woman, I'd be a consciousness woman. Consciousness, to be a consciousness person. Access to my full brain's functioning power. And, so then they'll say, well, I'd like to be like you. And I'll say, fine, let's take a course in Vedic meditation now. We finished with our business strategy. If you don't want to have to continue hiring me, you can be just like me. All we have to do is get you meditating. And so then, what is my purpose? If I have, this kind of limiting idea that if I do this thing, I'm a one of these things, then, that'll be the answer. And, I will have found my, we use the Sanskrit word dharma. D-H-A-R-M-A. Dharma, it means your personal role in the evolution of things, but I'm going to add another phrase to it now, for the moment. What is your personal role in the evolution of things for the moment? And I was in an aircraft once, somebody was having what was suspected to be a heart attack. Turned out not to be a heart attack at all. It was hypertachycardia. But they thought they might be having a heart attack. And then the cabin crew did that thing of calling and saying, is there a doctor in the aircraft, And no doctors in the aircraft. But because I have a DSC, it said, a Doctor of Science degree, it said on my ticket, Dr. ThomKnoles. And so they came straight up to my seat and said, oh, Dr. Knowles, can you attend to this person? I said, I have to tell you, I'm completely non-medical. I know nothing about medicine, but I do teach meditation. And they said, maybe that'll help. Please come up. Because we're out flying over the middle of some giant ocean. You could turn around and go the other way, and it was kind of like it was 9 hours that way or it was 9 hours that way, And they didn't know, do we have to have like an emergency landing on some little island or something? So I went and sat with the patient. It wasn't my patient. I'm not a doctor. And, because I know Ayurveda, I felt their pulse to see what the pulse was. And then I talked to the person about, breathing quietly. And I said, just listen to my voice and tell me where the sensation is in your body. And now why don't we just let our mind go there and feel that? Just feel the sensation of that. And, after a few moments, the person's breath began to calm down. And I said, are you feeling better now? And yes, I'm feeling better. And, would you like some water? No, I'd like to just rest now. I feel a little sleepy. And I said, that's good, let's, keep your seat back like this. And I'm just going to sit here with you for a while and hold your hand. Would you? Oh, I'd like that very much. So I sat there and held their hand and all of that. And then after a while, everything was quieted down. And the captain from the aircraft came back to me and said, Doctor, do you think we need to turn around, or can we, go for another 7 hours across the ocean and land in our destination? I said, look, I think 7 hours would be fine. I must have said 6 or 7 times, I'm not a doctor to people. I'm not a medical doctor. But it didn't matter. So, are you like, if you were to say, no, I refuse absolutely to have anything to do with that person who's suffering up there. You rise to the occasion, you meet the need of the time in whatever way you do with your adaptive capabilities. And so what is your purpose? Your purpose is really to be a fully developed human being, broad spectrum. In my own career, I don't say no to anything. If an agricultural company comes to me and says, we need to have your advice about how to prevent certain viruses from attacking our plants, I'll make an arrangement with them and I'll appear at the scene knowing nothing about viruses or plants, and I will be advising them, and they'll bring me back again. So if we have full consciousness, we're relevant to everything. We're relevant to the need of the time. And so we have to develop our full conscious capability. We have to awaken our full brain. We have to awaken ourselves fully. And then we're relevant in any given moment, anywhere we are. Anytime there's a need, you're going to be a valuable contributor to that need. And so this has to do with 2 things which are very interesting. We like to talk about nimbleness and agility, these are aspects of adaptability. But adaptability is based on stability. We only have adaptability, including nimbleness and agility, to the extent that we are stable. If you are stable, then more stable you are, the more adaptable you are. The more adaptability you can afford to have. If you have less stability than that, you require the world not to make demands on you because your adaptability is minimal, because your stability is minimal. Grow the stability and the adaptability grows. It sits on top of the stability. Stability has to do with groundedness in being. Being, the underlying consciousness field that sits beneath the thoughts, the source of all the thoughts. The place from where all the thoughts issue forth. And so we have to have that, capital T, embedded in our awareness. And we get that through our twice daily practice of Vedic meditation, sitting in a chair strategically every day, close our eyes, settle down into that state. We make it non-negotiable. It becomes a twice daily phenomenon, groundedness in being, and then we come out and perform actions. And day by day, we're awakening more and more our groundedness and capital T, that which is the source of all creativity, the source of all inventiveness, the source of all innovation, the source of all staying power and stamina. When you have that, you can literally be whatever you need to be to meet the need of the time. And it doesn't mean, that there might be certain things that you're known best for. I'm known best as, I guess, a guru, a teacher, a philosopher, a thinker, a speaker, and all of those things, a teacher of Vedic meditation. But I am, in fact, employed at very high levels by governments, by corporations, by a vast array of people who are very, very satisfied with my work, knowing full well I have no qualifications whatsoever. Nothing on paper that qualifies me. But I'm the guy who solves the problems. And so I'm a solutions person. I'm a solutions person. You come to me, you get your solution. Whatever it is. That's what we all need to be. Imagine a world filled with solutions people. We'd run out of problems. Our inventory of problems would deplete.